stendur einhver staðar að verði talað svolítið á ensku. And for translation, I was saying that we would use English as our language because we have so many foreign guests here. So I say we welcome to Keilir, wherever you come from different locations in Iceland, and not least those who come from abroad. Let's start with our big question. What are schools for? Why do we have schools? What's the purpose of running a school? Is it to create job opportunities for us as teachers? Or is it to create learning opportunities for students? And of course we know the answer, I hope, that the students should play some role in that more than the teacher, at least the purpose of school. But if we would run a quick view into all classrooms in the world now, who would be the most active person in the classroom all over the world today? Is it the student or is it the learner or the teacher? And I think we know the answer. But in most schools, it is the teacher that is the active person in the classroom. And we also know that teachers all over the world, like you and ourselves, are looking for a different way of doing our job, because we have noticed that the traditional classroom is not working. We see it and we feel it from our students if we are very traditional in our behavior. We have come over the time from the ancient Greeks, where the wise guy collected people around him, because usually it was he. And this wise guy, he was the key for the general public to information. Then we had a very big revolution several hundred years later called the print, where people started to publish books. So the general public was not so dependent on the wise guy. They could go home and read the books and get the information, not only from the wise guy. Just imagine the power that the wise guys had when they had the information and no one else. And then we came to the next revolution called the internet, where the distance between the wise guy and the general public, the gap became bigger. Now we are not so very much dependent on the wise guy, not at all, or even the book. We are not so dependent on the book in order to get information, because we have internet. I just give it a little test here. No, I will not. What is the highest mountain of the Faroe Islands?
Checking my sources. Yes, information.
Well, you don't hear it. It's Slættaratindur, 882 meters high. So this is the way we gather information, not from the wise guy, not even from the book. But there is a problem. The school system in general is based on the wise guy, actually. The structure of most of traditional schools, the contrast between unions and municipalities or states or whatever, and actually all the main design of the educational system is based on the fact that we have the important wise guy called the teacher, and the teacher is the most active one. But there are a lot of teachers like yourself guys looking for another way, trying to adapt our job, our school work to the fact that we have already got the internet and this whole world of communication and information. I just see one person here that I would like to stand up. Ivar, would you please stand up? This is one of the guys that has been trying to find the new ways to do his job. And he was awarded, he's the Flipper of the Year 2017 in Iceland. I suggest that you applaud for the Flipper of the Year. And why do I mention him? Because he is one of the persons that has been looking for a different way of approaching his job, where the learner is in focus more than the teacher. And that is what we are trying to do here today. Flipped learning might be one of the ways of adapting schoolwork to modern society, or maybe we should rather say to the future society. And that is our focus here today. The group, this workshop that we'll have here today, is based on a work between 4 countries. We started in Denmark. We were, the staff of Keilir were visiting Iceland. And we heard of some guys there doing some strange things in flipped learning. And we were able to meet them, Peter and his friends, and they have flipped learning in Denmark. And we discussed how about having some cooperation between the Norwegian and the Nordic countries or the neighboring countries. Yes, so let's do that. And they pointed out some nice people in Estonia that have been doing some nice work in terms of flipped learning. And then on the train from Iceland to Copenhagen, we Googled flipped learning Finland. And we came up with the name Marika, Toivola. And we sent an email from the train. Are you willing to come and work with us in Scandinavian workshop on flipped learning? And before the train came to Copenhagen, we had answered, yes, I'm ready. So that's how Finland came in. And this workshop here today is a part of that cooperation that will go through all the countries. More than that later. Okay, so welcome. We will start. I hope we will all have a good day here. We will start with our keynote speaker, which is Marika, the flipper in Finland, and we were trying to be a little flipped here. Instead of Marika had the traditional speech, as we are used to, like in the usual traditional classroom, we asked her to send out her presentation. And now this is a test. Have you looked at it? Have you raised questions? And she will come over here and maybe say a few words. And then we will have an open discussions because you have done your homework. And now you're like the students coming with your comments and questions. We'll see. Maybe we have the same problem with you and those students that don't do their homework. But Marika, please. Welcome.
Hello everyone, and thank you for asking me to come here, and it's been a pleasure to work in this project. So I made actually one video for you 2 days ago here in Ireland. I couldn't make that earlier because I have so bad flu, and that's the reason the quality of video is not the best one. So I have looked those answer gardens and those questions you have given me, and now I try to answer a few of those. I won't go the same presentation than the video I gave you, so if you haven't watched them, perhaps you will watch after this session. So I have written a book, Flip Learning in Finland, and it will be translated by native speaker to English, and the deadline is actually this month. So in the next autumn it will be available. I will start with research of John Hattie. He has made research, and there are over 80 million students as a database. And the most important reason in learning is self-regulation. So if we really want to get students to learn how to learn, self-regulation is the key element. And what John Hattie is actually telling that the best teachers are making learning and teaching visible. Best teachers are looking learning through the eyes of students and help them become their own teachers. And actually this is what Flip Learning tried to do. I have one article in my webpage about difference between flipped classroom and Flip Learning. I illustrate some difference in this short presentation I illustrate the difference in matter of fact in videos. How flipped classroom teachers are using videos and how those who are flipping learning. I'm a lower secondary school teacher. I'm a math teacher, and here are some photos of my class. My students are using iPads, and the biggest thing in this whole flipping process is learning material. I have made 10 books, the whole curriculum of lower secondary school level, and the biggest secret in flipping material is that it is heavily differentiated. There are different kind of levels. The idea is that every student will not learn everything. They will learn enough for themselves, but not everything. And the differentiate has to be made so heavily that even the best ones can learn and they can self-regulate. In my case, I have put exercises which are meant for 4 or 5 years older students than my students are in this moment, so that the most advanced one can really self-regulate their learning. They have passion to learn, and they will show the others what it really is when you are learning math. You are asking questions, you are really demanding yourself, you will make mistakes, and etc. If the learning material is too low a level, you can't use those students who are really already self-regulated as a key element of your learning culture. I'm a teacher in a teacher training school, and here is one of my teacher students. The problem in flipping is that normal classrooms are too tiny. And in my case, I have just went to the hallway. There are few sofas and tables, and my students can be in the hallway or in the class, wherever they want to learn. And here is the difference between flipped classroom and flipped learning. One teacher who are flipping said that from the student's perspective, the videos made by their own teacher are the best ones, because with them the students will learn exactly the things their own teacher considers important. The videos made by others may contain either too much information or information outside of the course curriculum. And my point of view, this teacher are not using flipped learning. He or she is using flipped classroom. And we should remember that the most important thing in flipped learning is self-regulation, how we support student self-regulation. And for example, these two guys here, they are about 13 years old boys. They were doing some exercise from the book, and they asked me, please would you come help us? And they asked, can't this, the most advanced exercise, be so stupid that we have to guess the answer. They were doing potence calculation, and they were variant in the exponent, and they have no clue how to calculate exercise like that. And I said, no, this is upper secondary school level exercise, and they are using logarithm functions or logarithm calculation to make answer this kind of exercises. But for you, you don't have no choice than guess the answer. You can just guess and try which works. And then I went away, and after a couple of minutes I went back to those boys, and they were watching a video from logarithm function, which is meant 4 years older students than they were in this time. After that they did some logarithm calculations, and after 4 hours they came back to the learning material. So in flipped learning, this kind of situation is just out of question, that somebody will learn too much. We are not learning for assessment. And as a matter of assessment, this boy here is doing assessment. If you have some mandatory final tests, then you have some mandatory final tests. But best way to practice for those tests is not making similar tests as the one which is final. Instead, the best solution is using formative assessment. And formative assessment is different. In my learning culture, this formative assessment is the big pillar, is the whole flipped learning culture. Because if the self-regulation is most important thing, then I need to show the students that it really is the most important thing, and you have to learn assess to self-regulation. So I'm using self and peer assessment. And the starting point for this kind of assessment, I call it flipped assessment. The starting point for this kind of flipped assessment is that you won't give any grades. Because if you will, they really don't are interested in feedback anymore. Number 8 tells them everything. So give up grades. The main point here is to support self-regulation. So self-assessment, when you are using that as a purpose to support self-regulation, the main point of it is monitoring and supporting one's own learning processes. Assessment is based on goals and choices made by the students. The only reason in the test is evaluate how good choices I have made during this learning process. Should I next time do some other kind of choices and put some other goals? And the biggest thing in self-regulation is co-regulation, because you can't teach student to self-regulate themselves, because it's something inside of the people. But transitional process of self-regulation is co-regulation, and that's the reason peer assessment is important. The biggest thing in the whole flipped learning culture is to get students work to each other, collaborate each other, and it's the collaborate learning culture is the most important in this whole system. And it won't be if you don't show with assessment system that it really is the key of the flipping. I have explained my teaching method and this assessment system in what video, and you can ask questions here and in the workshop later on. In peer assessment, the point is in supporting the learning process of other students. It teaches students to be critical and helps them make conclusions based on what others think are good or bad. the biggest problem in assessment is that when somebody is saying that, okay, now we need to do some assessment, we have an image about measure learning outcomes. But if the focus is in self-regulation, you really need to see assessment as a tool to support building the whole culture. And forget the measuring. Students can use those tests to measure their own learning, but as a teacher, I won't do so. And here is the model I've made, and here is the teacher part. So there were a question, what teachers are doing in the flipped learning culture? Actually, when the students are here, I'm not actually doing nothing except helping every student or or things like that. I am a tutor in the classroom. But what I have done, I have made the material. I am using a lot of videos, but I haven't made those videos by myself. I have a pool of everything. There are learning paths, there are mastery learning idea explained, there are self-assessment, there are peer assessment, and the whole thing is in collaborative learning. And as I said in video, it's not cooperative learning. You really need to give collaboration also hands-on students. When they are practicing their self-scaffolding skills, they are not doing some common exercise or common product which they will give up for you. They are doing something for themselves. They are learning to learn. Okay. There is in my webpage. I have published this article in ICME conference, so you can read the whole article, and the book, which will be published in English in the autumn. I have opened this whole theory with two teachers. I am giving the theoretical background and challenging two teachers. One is from primary level and the other one is from upper secondary school level. They are challenging this model by their practice. So they are two views of same situation. And the final slide. How many of you mastery learning is familiar? Yeah, it's the most used theory of learning during these almost 40-50 years. However, quite often teachers are using mastery learning and they are just coming back because it takes so much time. But in flipped learning, the situation is different because it really is learner-centered learning culture. Benjamin Bloom have made the tests, many of those, in just normal classroom where will be one teacher and 30 students. And teacher will choose the level of learning and just continue as traditional way of teaching. And we will got a Gauss curve when we measure achievement of the students. And he had another group of students which have a tutor. Tutor comes up when they need helps. And in this situation, half of all of those students will have the same learning results than the 2% best ones in the traditional one. What this Bloom theory actually explains is that we are wasting potential of students. In traditional teaching, we are really wasting potential of the students. And flipped learning, we really want to get something like this. Okay, I won't go deeper than that, but now if you have some questions, I'd like to answer.
Well, thank you, Marika. I'd like to thank Marika for giving a presentation. Also, she is cold. I think it's due to that she was 2 days ago in Heydalur on the Westfjords, where she actually taped the presentation you saw on YouTube. So she both did a presentation and got a cold in Iceland. It's called Iceland, Marika. Yes. In Answer Garden, you can choose your favorite questions as well, and some of them have received more interest than others. So there are 2 questions that have the most likes. One of them is, what happens in the classroom? I guess that's something to do with how do you organize the time in the classroom when you do all the lectures online. And the second one, how can you make sure that the students watch what you send to them?
I am not using videos. They are not mandatory. There are plenty of research where they are saying that only 20% of the students are watching those videos which you are making. But those 20 students really need those videos. And in flip learning, it's really not learner-centered learning culture is if you are offering the same lecture, teacher-centered learning, teacher-centered lecture via video. It doesn't make the learning culture flip learning. So in my case, I have made the material so that I really hope that the students are reading the theory. They are reading, they try to understand, then they come to class and share their opinion and start to work together. And the biggest problem in my, I have flipped since 2012 at the upper secondary school level and lower secondary school level. And the biggest reason me to stop doing teacher-centered learning culture was that I heard when 2 guys were talking about that I won't skip any math class because I would have a huge problem after skipping a math class. And I asked why. They were 2 best ones I had. And they said that actually they need me because I explained the problem so good that they can just take the idea and use it, like a robot or something like that. And I realized that I am doing too much. They are not trusting themselves anymore. I didn't increase their mathematical identity. Instead, I said, please don't think this alone. I will explain you how to think this mathematically. And then you can just go on. Of course, I didn't say so, but that was actually what I was doing. So in flip learning, you trust students. If you don't trust students, you can't use flip learning. You trust that they really want to learn, and you trust that they are capable of learning. And then you just focus on this one. You are making a learning culture where everyone are welcome to come, and the heterogeneity is the power of the learning culture. Even the good ones are learning more when they are weaker ones in the same group, because they need to explain those.
I've been having problems with self-assessment, mostly due to unrealistic self-images of the students. Either they are too confident or in most cases have too little confidence to properly assess themselves. So they generally just give themselves a bad grade or a negative image. I'm wondering how the self-assessment could promote the future learning.
The key element is that this is formative assessment, formative self-assessment. They are not giving grades for themselves. In my case, I have 3 different level tests. The number 7, number 8 or 9, and the best one, number 10. In Finland, the number 10 is the highest credit. And when, for example, someone would like to have the highest grade in math, they are taking the most advanced test. And when they have tried, they actually try to do the test, and they know that I always put so demanding exercise on that test that even the best ones won't get everything right in the first session. Then I just mark, okay, number 2 is incorrect, and I am giving the test back to students. Then they take a test again and look, okay, have I just made some mistakes here, or have I just understood something wrongly, and this part is self-assessment. They try to relearn. They can use their classmates. Sometimes I ask that 2 of you please take tests at the same time, because I really want to turn it peer assessment with 2 of you. And they try first by themselves, and then they are doing again together. And why the most demanding test is so demanding that it's difficult to get everything right is that I am using those good ones as a tool to build this whole learning process. They are so, okay, it's not a problem that I didn't know answer to this exercise, because I want to evaluate their learning, how they learn to learn. And in that case, actually I have also advised them that please do not read math tests. It's not allowed to read math tests. When you have finished your chapter or bigger book, for example, then you have immediately take the tests. Because the test is just only used so that you can see what you have really learned, what you have in your long-term memory. If the students are reading for math tests, they are working with their short-term memory, and I don't know what are the answers in the paper. Do they really have learned those things, or do they just remember how to do things when you see this kind of exercise? And this that I said to students that please don't read the math test, it's actually was the most important thing to support the building process of learning culture, because the students realize that, okay, now this teacher really wants something else, that we will have perfect answers in assessment.
I need to stop you now, Marika. Not because it's not interesting, it's maybe too interesting. This is why we have included Marika in one of the sessions now in room B1. So Peter Holmbo from University College South Denmark and Marika Toivola will be in room B1 with their workshop or session. There you can ask Marika more questions. I see one of the questions people are very interested in knowing the answer for is what is the role of the teacher? I'm afraid we can't answer that now, but you can answer that one in the session in B1. In B2 we will have Björn Gunnlaugsson from Kópavogur municipality telling us about how they've been implementing iPads in primary schools in Kópavogur, and Kristján Ómar Björnsson from New School will be talking about how they started up the new school in Hafnarfjörður. In room B7 we will have 2 teachers telling their stories, how they've implemented flipped learning in their classrooms. It will be Hjördís Alda Heiðarsdóttir from Keilir University Bridging Courses, Háskólabrú Keilis, and Inga Eiríksdóttir from Menntaskólann Tröllaskagi Comprehensive College up in North Iceland. So please don't all go and choose Marika's presentation. Inga and Hjördís will have 2 presentations, both in Icelandic and English, both before and after the coffee break. You can see explanations of the different workshops in front of the doors. Finally, we have a few guys that are taking photos, filming. This is because that we had a lot of requests from schools from outside Reykjavik and outside Keflavik that wanted to be here but couldn't attend. We'll be taping all the sessions, all presentations today, and edit and put online so you can attend actually all of them after you depart today. Everybody happy? Yes. Excellent. So we will have 1 hour now for sessions, and then we stop for coffee break at 2:15.